We grow food because we love to do it.
Today's episode comes to you from Shaftesbury, Vermont, where we visit with Lisa MacDougall of Mighty Food Farm. We start off the episode with a tour through her 7 greenhouses and glance at some of the equipment she's using to farm over 14 acres of vegetables. We then pull up a stool in the greenhouse and have a deeper conversation about how she got started farming and what she's done to maintain employees and customers to run a business for over 18 years. Well, operating a business for 18 years sure sounds like a success, but after a wet season like 2023, it will make a seasoned grower question what they're doing. Lisa is a kick-butt woman farmer who knows how to lead a team in slinging crates and crates of produce. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm your host, Andy Chamberlain, and I take you behind the scenes with growers who share their strategy for achieving the triple bottom line of sustainability. These interviews unravel how they're building their business to balance success across people, profits, and our planet. If this show has impacted you, I'd love to hear it via email or publicly as a review in the podcast app. Just scroll down to the bottom, and that's where you can leave a review right in Apple Podcasts. The Farmer's Share is supported by the Vermont Vegetable and Berry Growers Association and the Ag Engineering Program of the University of Vermont Extension. If you enjoy the show and want to help support its programming, you can make a one-time or reoccurring donation on our website by visiting thefarmershare.com/support.
This is one of the prop houses here. We buy cases of this for the crew. Everybody loves seltzer, so
Of course.
there's just like seltzer everywhere all the time. Yeah, so this is like kind of one of the warmer houses, and we don't do a lot of plant sales, but we have some going here. We just have one plant sale day. And we're gonna start planting in the field tomorrow. We're held up for a week, but...
Because it was cold?
Yeah, it ended up being a good thing. We made some last minute adjustments to the crop rotation that made sense. Like it always does. Like I'm always hemming and hawing about like, you know, where to put stuff for the rotation, and then there's always like last minute changes, you know?
Yeah.
Which is fine.
You like the hose trolley? That seems to be a new thing people are getting into.
Oh my God, it'll like, oh man, we just try to make things easier, like all the tasks, make them easy. I don't mind coiling a hose, but when you're watering like 2 or 3 times a day sometimes. So that's a bunch of hardening off stuff. We just have a bunch of trailers, and those are kind of harvest wagons. And so before harvest season, they just sort of serve as plant holders, basically. Yeah, just another prop house, sticky cards, seedlings. We do all of our own little flower starts for all of our planters and stuff around the farm. That's like a new hobby of mine. Yeah, growing flowers. Yeah, I didn't do it for like a long time, and I was like, oh, this is like quite nice, you know. These look so good.
Not too hard. You have the systems.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, why? Yeah, like going to Andrews and like buying flowers. I'm like, I should just do my own probably, you know. And some of them, like the ageratum and some certain ones are like, they're particularly tasty to aphids, so sometimes they make for good scouting plants. She's extremely photogenic.
Oh yeah.
She's like, she's such a good girl. We all love her. It's our water tank that we use to fill the transplanter tanks. We just have a water pump hooked up to it, and then
fill that from a well?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 wells. Yep, two good wells. So
you can fill these super fast then, because you're using a transfer
pump
or something.
Yeah, we have this transfer pump just hooked up to it, so it's just like, I mean, it takes like a minute to like fill
that's
those.
super smart. Otherwise, you're standing around out of a garden hose.
Oh, it's like the worst. Yeah, it's like the worst, you know? It's like I used to have to like come up with like projects for people to do while they were waiting for the tanks to fill. I'm like, we should just do this.
Right, fill the tank, whatever.
And then when we had in Pownell, because I was in Pownell for 10 years, in Pownell we had that on a trailer, that system. And so we would just bring it with us because I had remote fields.
That's genius.
It was good. It worked out well. Yeah. Portable water, you know. So we do a lot of water wheel transplanting.
Yeah, tell me more about them. You have, how many acres are you doing?
We're doing 14.
Wow. That's quite a few. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm working towards doing less, but it doesn't seem to happen.
And you've got 2 water wheels.
We've got 2 water wheels. We've got, I want a third. We have one set up for 3-row 12-inch spacing, 3-row 6-inch. They're interchangeable spikes on the wheels. And that's like what a lot of our succession stuff is, lettuces and head lettuces, scallions, whatever. And then we have a 2-row, which we do 2-row or single, and that's for all the plastic culture stuff. Like we do our kale and chard on plastic, and then all the summer fruiting crops, summer squash, zucchini, and we like to do cabbages on plastic. We do a lot of things on plastic. White plastic, metallic plastic, black plastic, all the plastics, because the crops just seem to really like them. So I really hate changing out the wheels to make it like one wheel. So sometimes I think about getting a third just so that we don't ever have to like change wheels, because I find it to be such a pain in the butt. But for right now, it's like pretty sweet. And then we have 2 tractors with creepers, so then we can have 2 tractors going at once. And that's pretty sweet. Yeah, that feels like you're winning when you have a couple transplanters out at one time.
Yeah, you're really slinging the plants.
Yeah, really slinging
Holy
the
cow.
plants. Yeah, just as long as you have enough people to do it, you know.
Conditions are right.
Yeah,
Go!
yeah, I know, for sure. Everybody loves a good planting day. Almost mowing season.
Yeah, almost.
So we just do a little bit of early heated tomatoes. And they're looking pretty good for right now. It's just a 30 by 48 house. And we've had some instances of whitefly. So we get a lot of incarcia and stuff in, and they just stick on the plant like that. We try to do as much beneficial insect stuff as we can, but sometimes like the outbreak, if we get an outbreak that's like bad, then we do end up having to spray. But we try to really stay on top of it. I have a couple of people on the crew who are like really good scouters, and they're like really good at scouting and like seeing all the bugs, you know? And so that was part of our plans of action for this year was, 3 days a week of like designated scouting time, and just really staying on top of it, because we had a couple of things get away from us last year that just like, that never feels good, to stumble across like some sort of insect or disease thing. We got all these plants from Jack over at Walker Farm.
Yeah.
So.
All grafted?
All grafted, yeah. We just don't start quite that early. We start our houses around March 10th. And so we like to have the tomatoes in generally by the last week of March or so.
Are you running all 4 lines of drip?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, then we don't have to water for very long, and then...
So are you watering frequently, short spurts?
Yeah, right now, sort of like every other day, maybe and this is 6-inch line too. And then also too, one of the things that, sometimes we struggle with because the plants produce so heavy might be a potassium deficiency, which is, potassium likes water to be absorbed or whatever. And so we'll spread the lines out on the bed. Right now they're kind of near the root zone. And then we'll go from there. It was one of the things I think that came out of a study that Becky did, running more lines of drip. So right now this lettuce is kind of spent, but we lost a greenhouse. It was right there where that row cover is. We just replanted the pad. In that windstorm and snowstorm, you guys got a bunch of snow for that on April 4th and 5th. And we had sustained 70 miles an hour for about 4 hours with 90 mile an hour gusts.
That's a lot of wind.
I was just thrilled that it was only one house was gone.
Yeah.
I was I literally came out. It was still really early in the morning. It was dark. It was storming. And I came out and it was like almost this like feeling of bliss. And I was like, it's just one.
That's it?
That's it. Like, oh man.
It's a good day.
Like, it's a good day. We only lost one greenhouse to that shit, you know? A little warm in here.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
The insect netting, you know? My grant for ADG is, or the ADR, I forget what the acronym is for peak vents, and then several of those vertical airflow fans.
Yeah.
Which are super cool, but I haven't heard back about that grant. When I talked to, I think her name is Stephanie, who was running it, I was like, well, how many people do you think are like gonna do this? And she's like, well, so far, me personally, I've talked to 100 people.
Holy cow.
There are 172 applicants.
Whoa. And I know that money was gonna go real fast.
According to my calculations, I mean, really, like, everybody's going to be going for minimum 50 grand or $50,000, right?
Right.
And so, like, for 1.6, I mean, I think I did the calculation that there'd be like anywhere from 15 to 20 recipients, basically, you know, out of 172 probably very well written, very needy applications. Yeah. Like at the end of it, it's like, let's just pull straws here, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah, how do you whittle that down?
Yeah. Spinach and things, you know?
Nice.
Red Russian kale, I like to grow it, but it's not that popular, but I still am trying to win people over with it. It's delicious.
Hey, they don't know they like it if you don't grow it.
No, exactly. Yeah, right. Cocker eye. Insect netting.
So you got netting on many sides all of them?
All of them are netted. We just like net everything, either to keep bugs out or keep beneficials in. We don't have an issue in this house right now, so the door is like open. And it's not 100%.
Yeah, your doors are usually screened too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we get real serious about it with cucumbers and the cucumber beetle. We just find that that's like the only way to keep them out, because I'm certainly not going to be like spraying, you know, Pyganic in the houses for those guys. Yeah, bugs. But it's been going so far. You know, I recently got heaters installed in these larger houses a couple years ago, mostly just to melt ice and snow. Oh. That was like primarily the reason, because, you know, I moved from Pownell. We took down and rebuilt all of these greenhouses, you know, in one season. It's like as soon as tomatoes were out at the old farm when we were moving, we'd like take the house down, bring it up, rebuild it, and then like plant winter greens. Yeah. You know, that winter, we got this gnarly ice storm, and like I went out in the morning, or like saw from my house. I was like, oh, you know, man, all the poly's deflated. Like there must have been like all the bubbles are gone. You know, I went out and it was a gnarly ice storm. The wind blew, and the polys were shredded, like beyond. And we had just polyed them all. This was in January, you know, and we had just polyed them in July through September. They were all new polys. And so next year, we replaced all the polys in all the houses. So anyways, so
you got real good at that.
So I got really good at polys, you know. I definitely know how to do greenhouse stuff.
So you've got all ledgewoods,
yeah,
all inflated.
All inflated, yep. Just, no, you know, we do double plywood end walls because the wind gets so bad here. And we do 2x12 baseboards. And I get different hardware than what Ed supplies for his frames. I get like a heavier duty hardware for the baseboards and the hip boards. And sometimes I splurge on heavier duty eye bolts, because we get 90 miles an hour up here.
That's crazy.
And it is crazy. And so I had to really, from the move from Pownell, which we did not get 90 miles an hour there, I had to up the game with some greenhouse construction. So we've got it figured out now, and that's good. What a nice day.
Yeah, I know.
We can check out the equipment barn.
Sure.
This is the horse barn that was here when I got here, which was like beautiful and it's so nice. I had a team of draft horses that I used a lot in the fields, but it just got to be too much, and I sold them, and I sold them last spring. And
Oh, recently.
yeah, it was super sad. I had them for 7 years, and but they are now with this great woman up in Stowe, and they do sleigh rides at the Stowe Mountain Resort.
That's a pretty good retirement opportunity.
Totally. So that's super great. And this was like the indoor riding arena. And, we have shelving for all the equipment supplies, row covers, shade cloth, all the plastics, miscellaneous equipment. This is like the G. I have an Alice Chalmers G. I'm picking it up on Wednesday. I got a bunch of work done, but that's all the little G equipment, basket weeder. I got a finger weeder from Crest, but I ended up taking the fingers off, and I just like the sweeps. I don't really like the fingers didn't do it for me. And, miscellaneous stuff. And then these are our tractors. We got this tractor last year. It's, I had like a real issue with getting a 100-horse tractor with a cab, but it's been really good.
Coming from a horse?
Yeah, I know. It was like this thing for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I, sold my draft team. That was just like, all you ever heard when you were working them was just like the clanks and the clings of the of the implement and the and the chain and the metal on the harnesses, and so but my tractor guy Rob, who's great, is super psyched about the cab and just loves that thing. And fertilizer, shop area.
Now you're making good use of your covered space.
Yeah, no, totally. Inner crates, we use these for onion storage, those are just the bee's knees. Love those. We wrap those with plastic for storage.
We've got the flip top bales, right? Yeah.
Yeah, those are just, I cannot say enough good things about those. Love crates, love containers. This is a basketball hoop that we need to put up. The crew wanted a basketball hoop, so we'll do that. And this is just like the little shop area here. All the extension cords, all the fluids, and all the things. Quicksand from the winter, tires. Not a real farm, I guess, if you don't have tires.
I guess.
Sticking around. We have some. Should we look at the equipment a little bit? I don't have a lot. I try to be really minimalist when I come to equipment. Maybe to a fault sometimes, but we're not. I feel like we're pretty conventional in the tillage realm. We have a moldboard, and we got a new disc last year. The sale from the draft horses went to buy discs, so that was good. that felt great.
Can't use those old equipment anymore.
It was like in one hand, out the other. Flail. We have 9J cultivator, which is just their stuff is just great, and a couple mowers, tine weeder, undercutter bars in various states of disrepair, a little chisel, plastic layer, but pretty basic, nothing super fancy or anything.
I know they all have a role.
They do all have a role, except for that bed former.
Do you have one that you like using the most?
An implement?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Or one you're really glad you invested in?
Oh man. That Caverlin plow, if you're gonna get a moldboard plow, that's a really nice plow. And I got that on Craigslist. And it was like a guy had bought it for plowing competitions, which I didn't know was a thing. Like,
nope,
you know
I didn't know.
I mean?
Huh.
And it's like a $9,000 plow new, and I got it for $4,000.
There you go.
I had to pick it up in 2 trips because it wouldn't fit in my truck, but
Oh.
but it's a nice, you know, for all I feel, there's so much, you know, we try our hardest to, you know, do minimal till and all
Right.
those things, but you know, sometimes
Sometimes you just got to flip it over.
yeah, and that's a good one. I love my plastic layer. That was one of my first, I think I got that my 2nd year used. No bells and whistles really, but totally does the job. I do all the plastic laying. I don't want to burden anybody else with that. And I like running an undercutter bar because that means we have things to harvest.
Yeah.
So undercutter bars are sweet. Yeah, they're all, you know, they're all useful. And that tine weeder, when you use that right, that's pretty sweet. Sometimes I wish I could just do all of my farm work just with a tine weeder.
It's blind cultivation.
Yeah, blind cultivate everything, even till with the tine weeder, just scrape the beds, then come back and weed them.
I feel like it has a very narrow window of usefulness.
It does. But if you hit it right, it can be really nice. Like it does, we like to use it on carrots. We use it on head lettuces and beets and, you know, kind of things like that. Yeah, the window is narrow. Yeah, and then we're gonna put up a new greenhouse. We're gonna rebuild the greenhouse, and that's gonna go here. So we just took down a bunch of trees on that hedgerow there. It looks pretty ugly, but I think the birds will like it.
Remove the hazard.
Yeah, no branches, no sticks into the poly. And then did you see, I don't think you've been here since we put up the extension on the pack shed building.
No, that overhang is new.
Yeah, so we did that in 2021, I think. And it's so awesome. It's so nice to unload here for harvest. And, you know, you get out of the sun, you get out of the rain, you get out of the wind. Also loading for deliveries or loading for market. Crate storage. We'll move the root washer out here and do root washing out here for like the storage crops, you know, like the big carrot washing for storage and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. A lot of U-boats.
Ceiling fan.
Yeah, I don't know. That felt necessary at the time. You know, like we're always like, where are the tiki torches? We haven't had a party out here yet, but we will, you know.
It'd be a good spot for one, yeah.
It's a great spot for a party, yeah.
Pull the picnic tables over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a lot of bulb crates.
We have a lot of bulb crates, all freshly cleaned. Nothing really to show in the fields right now.
Yeah.
Except for seed in the ground. This is the pack shed, which you're super familiar with, and continues to just be a really great space for us. We recently invested, you know, through Robert Arnold, a lot of the buckhorn crates. Those things are just, and we drilled holes in the bottom of all of them, and that's been really, really great. And yeah.
Upgraded to truss core. I think that's new. Your coolers are new.
Yeah, the truss core is sweet. We had some serious moisture rotting behind that wall, so we redid that last spring, and that stuff is awesome. Love it. And yeah, we'll probably make plans to do the other side at some point also.
That's good. That's always good to hear.
It's a great product. Yeah, Chris pointed me in that direction. Yeah, that's nice. All the water goes to the drain instead of just splashing on your feet.
Just a little direction there.
Yep.
This is nice. Still continues to be a role model. What are the TV mounts for on the ceiling?
They were for hose reels, and we're not going to use them. We really just, we like the simplicity of this, and it works well, you know, like, so yeah, we put them up and we were using them and we didn't like them, so we took them down. We're like, we really just like our hose, you know? So
Lesson learned.
yeah, that works well for us. And yeah, so, like, it's a small space, you know, relatively, but we like it because we can see every corner and everything just stays really organized. I think that's the benefit of, like, you know, not having enormous spaces is it forces you to keep tidy.
Yep.
You know, and there's nothing in here that, like, isn't used regularly.
Yeah, your layout is the same from when it was 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Guess it was good from the start.
It was, yeah, it worked well.
Mostly.
Bibbies. And this is the, you know, staff area. And then we've been doing some pop-up farm stores. So we have some farm store stuff out. And yeah, so kind of a multi-purpose space. But the crew break area is pretty nice.
Still CSA pickup too?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we do the CSA pickup over here actually, in the pack shed, and then people sort of funnel through here.
It's like an amusement park. You get to see the activity and then you finish in the gift shop.
Yeah, right. Totally.
And here's the shirts and the merch and
yeah. Totally. It's a good analogy. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is a nice space.
Yeah, it is. The crew, like, you know, we got toasters and microwave and coffee machine and inspirational quotes and rules posted and just all the things. Yeah, supplies,
stuff,
first aid stuff, notebooks, resource labels. I supply snacks, and, you know, all the cleaning supplies, sort of all those things.
Yeah.
But it's a nice place for them to land, and then in the summertime it's air conditioned.
Yeah.
Which is
you need.
Huge. Which is huge, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool or warm. It's dry.
Yeah, totally.
Enough elbow room. You can take your layers off.
Yeah, and I have somebody come in. One of my crew right now. She runs a CSA, but we don't have CSA, so she comes in and she cleans the whole place on Fridays. And then that's really nice. You know, everybody comes in on Monday and it's nice and clean.
Ooh, that one's mega inflated.
That is a problem. That one, so that's a plastic I don't like. They shipped me the wrong plastic at Griffin. It's Sunmaster. And we put shade cloth on it. Yeah. And it freaking stretched out.
Weird.
And it's like looks like it's got growths on it, you know? And the blower is actually slightly disconnected. And so it's usually even bigger.
That's like a balloon that's gonna pop.
I know. You should see it when it's deflated. It's like so bad.
Well, that concludes the walking tour portion of our show. And once we wrap that up, we figured, where should we sit down and chat? It was the last week of April and a beautiful, warm, 65, sunny degree day. So we looked around a little bit and decided, you know what? Let's sit in the greenhouse where there's a whole bunch of starts. So you can hear the fan running in the background, and that's where we're at. We're sitting in the greenhouse with a whole bunch of greenery behind us, just enjoying this warm spring day. Enjoy part 2 of the conversation where we learn more about Lisa and her business. Well, welcome to the show. If you could start off by introducing yourself and your farm, that'd be great.
Great, yeah. Thanks so much, Andy. My name is Lisa MacDougall. I run Mighty Food Farm. We are in Shaftesbury, Vermont, and we do a lot of different vegetables, a little bit of strawberries, and we market through CSA that's mostly year-round, one local farmer's market up in Dorset, Vermont, and a pretty nice little wholesale route.
Nice. When did you get started farming?
I got started farming when I was down at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. I was undeclared, and I got a job for the summer in 2003, working for the fabulous Nancy Hansen at the Hampshire College Farm. And I just totally fell in love with it. I loved the work. I loved producing food. Just pretty much everything about it just really clicked with me. I'd always sort of been a super outdoor person my whole life. I grew up riding horses, working at horse farms, and I thought that that's what I was going to do until then all of a sudden it wasn't, and that had been sort of who I was and what I did up until about I was 18, and then worked at the Hampshire College Farm at 19 and just got into the plant and soil science major at UMass, which was a totally phenomenal program. And, if you know where Amherst, Mass is, it's in the Pioneer Valley, which is just loaded with lots of different vegetable and agricultural production, and, some of the most beautiful soil in the world. And was just surrounded by the buy local movement. CISA, community involved in sustaining agriculture, was getting going, and there's just a lot of excitement in the early 2000s around agriculture in that area, and finished, getting my degree down there. Worked for Jeremy at Simple Gifts Farm over in North Amherst, which was super great. Gained a lot of experience there. Had a lot of great responsibilities, and in my last year of school, which was like 2005, 2006, about that, I was dating somebody, and he was into agriculture, and we ended up renting a farm together in Pownell, Vermont, and starting Mighty Food Farm in 2006. So we moved up to Pownell, had a little Troy-built rototiller, and just a lot of ambition and drive and stubbornness, and we went whole hog into doing a small CSA, did some local farmers markets, wholesale, and sort of took off from there. And I think we did about 4 acres our first year, which was a tremendous amount. I really never want to have to work that hard again in my life ever. It was like it was quite a lot. And we produced a decent amount of food that first year. And so, that's sort of how I got started, is I just stumbled into working at a farm and just was like, yes, this is it.
That's unique. Not many people come out at the gate being like, I want to farm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my first experience, Nancy's a fabulous grower. I was also, the crew that year was super awesome. There was Rowan White, who was on the crew that year, and she does a lot of, she's Native American, and does a lot of work with saving indigenous seeds, and her work was super inspiring. And another woman who had grown up on a large potato farm in Maine, and then Tim Wilcox from the Kitchen Garden Farm was also sort of in and out that year, and it was just like, there was a lot of really great energy, and it was just, I just loved it. I loved the long days. I loved the hard work. I loved eating the food. I was just all about it. It was great. Yeah.
Did you have, going into your first year doing 4 acres, did you have what was your vision like going into that?
There was like no vision. It was just like, we had like a small crop plan. It was like, we're going to do a CSA. We did like a 60-person CSA, and we were doing the Bennington Farmers Market, which was on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And then we started doing the Dorset Market in the winter, that first winter. And it was sort of just like, it felt like there was a great need. Like, we could sell anything that we grew, and so then it just sort of lended itself to sort of expansion. And then the next year we brought on a larger team. We were working a lot. Just like staff hours were 60 to 70 hours a week, and it was It was a lot. I keep saying that. But it was like really good. And we just, I think the second year we were probably up to 6 or 7 or 8 acres or something like that, and added more CSA members and another farmer's market, and just started doing a winter CSA and, building greenhouses and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's not dabbling. What made you decide to grow 5 to 10 acres like fairly soon? Just because you wanted to live off of it?
Yeah. It seemed like that's sort of what we needed to do monetarily to make it work, was like reach a certain level of revenue. And, also too, coming down from in the Pioneer Valley area, there were just sort of like a lot of larger farms, and that's sort of what I had worked on, visiting, doing some stuff over at the food bank farm, and some work at Red Fire Farm. And it's just sort of like what we were around was larger farms. There weren't a lot of like smaller 1, 2, 3 acre farms like there are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going with what you knew.
Yeah, no, pretty much. There really was like no plan. So I suggest that, you do have one.
Yeah.
Now I have a better vision. But
yeah.
Early on, it was just like, let's just work super hard and grow a lot of food and sell it. And that was sort of how we began.
Was your first farm in Pownell there a good land?
It was a hill farm. Through and through. A lot of slope. The soil was nice. It's actually the same soil at my farm now here in Shaftesbury, which is a Stockbridge, silty loam, and then some Georgia loam. We grew some nice crops there. The barns were very old and falling down, and we just had like extension cords like running everywhere, and it was like a total fire hazard, but whatever, we didn't know any better, and the house was old and whatnot, falling apart. But they had some decent soil, and we made it work. And then I was leasing another farm a mile or two down the road that had decent soil and some acreage, and so we were traveling all over the place. I was doing more acreage, growing more when I was down in Pownell than where I am here now in Shaftesbury.
So what brought you up to Shaftesbury?
The opportunity to purchase land. I was in Pownell for 10 years we had talked about an option to purchase, but it just really wasn't going to work out. And I was land seeking, I would say, super hard, and like with the Vermont Land Trust, and looking at farms, and applying for all the farms. And I wanted to stay in this area. I didn't want to go up to Burlington or the Rutland area or over to the eastern side of the state. I wanted to sort of stay in Bennington County, and there wasn't a lot of things available. It's a narrow valley. It's like the Green Mountains are right there, and then you have like some land, and then like boom, it's New York, And I had stopped seeking. I was seeking land really hard from 2011 to 2014, and nothing was really working out, and I was getting pretty discouraged. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just, I've got a good thing going in Pownell, so I'll just sort of like kick it here for a while and just sort of keep doing what I'm doing. It's working. And then the Vermont Land Trust approached me, and they were like, hey, there's this farm in Shaftesbury. You should probably go check it out. And so sort of like reluctantly, I like drove up there. Fine, I'll go look at it, And I like looked at the soil maps first, and it had the same soil as in Pownell, and, an appropriate amount of acreage and less slope than what I was farming on. So I was like, oh, that's sweet, and it has a house. That's cool, and a barn. That's great. And then like I came up to visit it. It was late February 2016. And I mean, yeah, I just pulled into the parking lot and was like, yep, this is it.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it work. There's a house that has the acreage. Like, the water was good, and it had and the price was right. That was the other thing. It was just like, I knew what I could finance, and I like really wasn't willing to go over that. I wasn't going to get in over my head, and so it was really hard to find. But that's like the story of every farmer, like trying to find affordable land, right? And I wasn't going to get in over my head. You know, I was like, I'm going to get something that I can make a living off of, you know,
and feel good about.
Yeah, I didn't want to saddle myself with, you know, with a payment that was too big. And you know, I also was like, you know, hoping for some sort of infrastructure, because I looked at a lot of farms with either dilapidated infrastructure, which I was like, God, I really don't want to have to repair all of this, you know, that's really expensive, or can be, you know. And you know, this place had a house, and that was a bonus. And I mean, the horse barn, you know, is 72 feet by 150, and the indoor storage space is just, it's really pretty great.
Yeah. For your equipment, fertilizer, row covers, everything.
Everything's
just
dry.
out of the elements.
Yeah, it's good.
And easy to access. It's not packed.
No, yeah, it's a nice open space. Yeah.
Tractors, keeping them out of the sun.
So nice.
So when you landed on this land, did you change up your business structure at all, or pretty much keep the same thing, just in different fields?
Yeah, I pretty much kept this keep on keeping on. Pownell, Vermont is right on the border of Williamstown, Mass, which is a super wonderful community that I had a lot of clientele down there for CSA. So just one of the things we did is we ended up doing a remote CSA pickup down there, which we still do. And we just have this core group of members down there who are super wonderful. And yeah, some of them have been with us, you know, for, you know, as long as we've been going, 18 years. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, no, they're like,
talk about retention.
Like diehard. They're like, are you sure you want to join again? You know, like, and they're all so wonderful. And yeah, wow. We still supply to the co-op down there, which is great, and Meze Bistro, and we have transitioned. The only transition really we've expanded our wholesale route to Manchester and Dorset a lot, which has been really great. And we love our customers up there, and we still do the Dorset Farmers Market. So I've sort of just maintained the same markets, which has been really nice. The only thing I did drop when I came up here was we had this really wonderful account down right outside of New York City. It was called The Good Table, and it was farm to corporate cafeteria. And so we were driving down there once a week, and we were supplying these office buildings with veg for their salad bar and hot bar for staff. They're huge office buildings. It was a super fun account, and we also did pre-packed CSA boxes down there. Our CSA is free choice. Those were not. Those were just like, this is like the box of stuff that you're going to get. And that was really great. I started doing that in 2012 and stopped doing it in 2017 or 18 maybe. And you know, that really sort of pushed me to up my game a little bit in terms of production and consistency and quality, because they were like expecting a certain thing, you know, these larger office buildings and everything. And so that was it pushed me in a really good way. And at first I was like, oh man, holy shit, I am in over my head. But you know, we were able to sort of meet those demands, and that was a really great. That was a really great opportunity, and I guess I sort of decided to get out of that at a good time, because then in 2020, when COVID happened, you know, all the office buildings closed.
Yeah.
So
you quit on your own terms.
Yeah, it would have been something to have lost all of that revenue so suddenly. So Yeah.
Yeah, it turns out that was good timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you find that opportunity? That seems like a unique one.
It was, the woman who was running it is from Paulet, and had been working with the Denisons over at the Denison farm. And they no longer wanted to have that account. And she knows somebody from Vermont Land Trust, and that person recommended me. And so she just called me. It was early in the spring, like March, like, stuff is getting seeded and crop plan is finished, and, called and talked to her, and she's like, do you want to supply these office buildings, and this is how much it is, and can you do a CSA, and like, can you like da-da-da-da-da? And I was like, okay, sure. And we did it, and I'm really happy that I said yes to that. It was a lot, but I'm really happy that I
like you said, it pushed you to grow in many different ways.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of head lettuce. They went through a lot of lettuce at those places, which is great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to stay in this southwest corner of Vermont. What makes this area feel like home to you?
It's really that it just like, I like it down here, and I like the fact that I feel really needed. From just the moment we started the farm in Pownell, it was just, people were stoked, and they were so happy that we were here. And I have so many dedicated customers, and I just felt needed. And that feels good. And just, sometimes everybody knows that sometimes the southwestern corner is a little bit forgotten about sometimes, I guess. And it's a great little area.
What did you envision your farm would look like when you started?
Not much of a vision, really. And now I just kind of wanted to grow a lot of vegetables, really, and sort of felt like I've just sort of made a lot of mistakes and learned the hard way. But no vision, really. Now it's much clearer. Heading into year 18, I finally have an idea. I guess one of the things I just try to be is a steady Eddie. Be really consistent with the crops, quality. We're maintaining our current markets, and we just sort of try to do what we do better. But we're not stagnant, and we're not complacent. We're always looking for opportunity, or seeing how to tweak systems, or what trends are, or whatever. But I guess I try to just do what I do, but just a little bit better. And we're always tweaking production in the field and in the greenhouses, so we can increase yield off of the same amount of space, is like what we think about a lot. How can we do this better with spacing or fertility or whatever, all of it, insect management, disease management, and just do what we do better. Yeah.
How has the market shifted in the last 18 years? Has it really changed up your crop mix?
I think I've gotten, or I haven't gotten, I guess what they say is, you want to have what people want when they want it and the quantity they want it in, right? And so I'm always sort of thinking about that, and it's like we can't grow enough salad mix and spinach and arugula and all those salad greens and stuff. And I know not to do, a quarter acre of kohlrabi, right? Kohlrabi is always the one that gets singled out. And we just sort of trends in vegetables, things sort of kind of come and go, but you kind of just have your classics, your salad stuff, and gold potatoes and cucumbers and carrots. There's just certain things that we know that we really pay attention to, those crops that we know that we can sell as much as we are able to grow, able to produce, and if that crop is profitable for us or not. And yeah.
Well, it sounds like both your production has been consistent and your customer base has been relatively consistent too, which is great.
Yeah, consistency is like, just makes it feel like agriculture is like, it can be so unpredictable, just like obviously with the weather and everything else. So we try to mitigate fluctuations in sales and in production as much as possible.
Along the lines with that, I was glancing at your website, and I know you've had employees for many years. You talk about, can you share a little bit about how you've been able to retain your employees year after year?
Yeah.
And your crew.
Yeah, my
culture.
My crew culture is, God, it's going to sound so corny, but it is a love-based crew culture. I focus a lot on employee well-being. Just sort of, I try to be really organized so that everybody knows what they're doing. I try to have good training, comfortable workspaces, have work be manageable, not have any tasks that just feel unnecessary or like it's too much or like people are going to die by the end of the day or whatever. And gosh, I feel like I have a lot to say about that. I've given several presentations on that. But I just, for me, always like I'm constantly thinking about their well-being because I feel like the farm itself, like if they're not happy and cohesive and sort of working together, and if things aren't laid out, expectations need to be really clear. Like when we take break, when we take lunch, and how many hours are we working, and what are we getting paid, and when do we get a raise, and just all these things, from like just like your employee handbook down to your daily interactions, letting people know that you care, and all sort of attribute to that, and making sure that you're keeping all of your expenses in check and like your sales up so that you're charging the right amount so you can afford to pay people a somewhat decent wage, and doing things like paid sick days and paid vacation and personal days, and just knowing that like nobody is ever gonna care as much about your farm as you do, and that's like totally fine. Like,
right.
Maybe
just remembering that.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, okay, 3:30. We stick to the hours. We have weekly staff meetings every Thursday after lunch where we go over next week's tasks, anything that needs to be wrapped up from this week. We have a star system, which is people give each other stars for like, hey, like, Richie and Sage, you guys like totally nailed all that summer squash zucchini planting, and star. And then stars are worth $2 credit at the farm store,
Okay.
And then you can also like cash out your stars and get like some cash, if you like accumulate a bunch. And so that's super fun. The stars are great. Everybody wants a star. I think that weekly meetings, morning meetings, afternoon meetings, quarterly reviews, check-ins, end of season reviews, just all of those things. Really making it a comfortable place to work is just really important. You want people to have, you want people to show up and, they want to be here.
So do you think that people come back year after year because it's fun and they like it? Like, what makes it a career for them? Because you've had people here for more than 5 years, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think David's been with me for 12, and
that's insane for farm help.
Yeah, they, and we do, we go all winter. We do quite a lot of storage crop, and so our sales are pretty steady and pretty good. That's been a goal, is to have sales through the winter time and the early spring be pretty steady and pretty, we're not trying to make all of our money just in like a 6 or 7 month period. yeah, I feel very fortunate, that people want to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Totally. I feel very lucky.
You've mentioned consistency has been kind of your jam, being just having stuff when you want it and whatnot. What's the next 10 years look like for you?
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about that right now. That's kind of it's not a loaded question for me, but I've had this recent epiphany about, I've pretty much, like all farmers do. I am not different, but all farmers, I feel like we surrender to our farms, right? And we're just like, this is like what the crops need. This is what the cows need or whatever. And I've sort of like lifted my head up a little bit over the past 6 months, I'd say. And, like I hadn't like been home to see my family in almost 5 years. And I just like went home recently and I was like, oh my God, like
there's life outside the farm.
Yeah, totally. I've just been, I'm not in a relationship. I don't have kids. This is just like what I do. I'm like here with my dog and just farming like all the time, or in the winter doing office work or, I like to go on walks and runs and stuff. But so over the next 10 years, it's really, I go back and forth about sometimes thinking about wanting to downsize a lot. I don't get to let my fields rest as much as I would like them to. So I think about that, my soil quality an awful lot, and letting some fields rest more. But as of now, we continue to get good production and, weed control out of our fields. I think that's one of the things I have the hardest time with is the long-term vision. For the farm, I kind of just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I have a lot of ideas generating all the time, like even for like other businesses, just like constantly. But yeah, my plan is to sort of just like be here and just sort of keep improving as I can. And sometimes I think about putting up a lot more greenhouses, and sometimes like, we had one blow down this winter and then I'm like, oh, maybe not, so a lot of different ideas, but I haven't really nailed anything down. One thing I do know that the only goal I really have is to be spending some more time with my family.
Yeah.
Because I've really, over the last 20 years, I haven't. This will be my 20th year farming, full-time, 18 years doing Mighty Food Farm, and I'll be 40, which is like super young,
yeah.
I think. And so I just like, it's all I've been doing. And so I just like,
Right. On one hand, 40 is really young and there's like so much life after that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you've been in a 20-year career, and which is also a significant contribution and
yeah,
chunk of work.
Yeah. And I love what I do. Like I still get like so jonesed about it, like, we're going to plant soon and, all
that's
the things.
good. Yeah,
no, totally. I have so much excitement and all of it, I could just talk to other farmers like forever. But, just sort of like just having that being like, yeah, like, and sort of like not having to feel like I'm in the place where like I have to work 80 or 90 hours a week, and sort of like just refining. I'm really sort of just like trying to refine things so that it's a little bit easier, and maybe I like don't eat dinner at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and all those things.
But it's not the 60 to 80 hours that it was in the first few years.
Oh, it was like 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
your crew was at that.
Oh yeah, the crew was at 60 to 70, which was like yeah, bad. No, nobody should ever have their crew work that much. That's a recipe for disaster.
Those crew members aren't here 18 years later.
No, they left mid-season. Yeah, for sure. Out there by myself pulling plastic in the fall. Oh shit,
Not a good day.
No. Yeah. So long-term version's hard, but really, I just want to refine my systems and continue to just improve on crop quality and see my family more. Those are kind of my goals right now.
Was there any change of practice or equipment that really allowed you to relax a little bit and get a few more hours in the day, or has it just been 20 years of incremental change that has made it more sustainable?
Oh, I don't think I still work quite a bit.
Still borderline burnout?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Last year, 2023, was really hard, and that's sort of what caused this sort of thing where I was like, wow, I am like just working a lot, and really I started to feel I definitely type A, I guess, if you could like label me as that, if you want to label people as A, B, C, or whatever. But what I started to notice last year in 2023, and I don't know if it was the rain, I don't know what was going on, but like things like equipment breakdowns or this or that, there's always that stuff. There's always crop shit. There's always equipment stuff. Like, it happens, right? And my threshold of sort of mentally, emotionally sort of dealing with that stuff was really low. And I don't get angry really, but it just like, it really raised like my anxiety. And I was starting to get a lot of physical symptoms of stress, dizziness and like nausea, and just sort of bouts of just really not feeling physically well. And I attribute it to stress. And so I was like, wow, this is different. And so I've sort of had this focus a little bit on stress management a lot, because like if I need to make good decisions, I need to set the vibe for the crew, like all these things. So like if I'm not, totally, I don't have to be totally great, but able to manage all the things, then I just need to be able to manage it, and so
You got to have your game on.
For sure, every day.
Like it's you don't have a farm partner, right? Like
no,
not at all.
No, yeah, and so like, and you can't really have a bad day. You just got to like keep on going, and so I used to have this philosophy of, and I still have it, but do as much as you can every day. Like no matter what, like just go do it, right? Because sometimes you do and you can't do it tomorrow, but it's like that philosophy sometimes doesn't always serve me super well, because I'll just like keep going. And like sometimes you have to stop, and so that stop is important, so that like, I'm like getting sleep. And
it's often when things break too, when you're pushing.
Totally.
Or tired or.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you done to manage that stress, either over the last 18 years? Like what do you do for hobbies or relaxation, or what have you done this last 6 months to de-stress or kind of relax a little, manage that?
Yeah. I've always had like a daily sort of yoga routine. I started doing yoga when I was 13, pretty young, and I was a pretty anxious kid, and so my mom was like into like meditation and things, and so like she was like having me do like breath work and like meditation exercises, as like a little girl. And so anyway, so I try to incorporate some of that into my daily routine. I run every day. I also go on a walk with my dog, and those 2 times, those things are important, no matter how short they are. And really, I think just like, quality sleep is really important. Eating regularly and eating balanced meals and all those things. Not like hammering like the pot of coffee at 5 p.m. to like keep going. Like that isn't gonna work out.
Kind of throws a wrench in your sleep.
Yeah. And just all the things.
Throws everything out of balance.
Yeah. So just, meditation, yoga, and also working on trying to see people more. I can be kind of a recluse up here, and usually during the season, I'm just leaving the farm once a week to go to market. So, making considerations to see some local friends more or whatever. Just all those things that we know that we're supposed to do.
It's hard to do when the to-do list grows every day and so many things need your attention.
Totally.
And your life depends on it.
Totally. That's a big thing, It's like that. I need to make money off of that.
These plants cannot die.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
I need them to do well.
That is a huge driver. Yeah. No, for sure. So I do whatever I can, and one saying that I love is, I have so many little sayings and stuff, is just, it's only as big of a deal as you make it. So sometimes it's like the stress of like that one thing you need to go do or this or that. It's like, it's only as big of a deal as you make it, like just take a deep breath and, just go hook up to that implement or go do that paperwork or whatever you need to do, and just mindfully move through those motions and get your work done. And one of the things I've started to do also is, and it's not, I don't know if other people do this, but I'll write down my task list, and then I'll put like how much time I think it'll take next to it. So I have to go prep those beds. That's 30 minutes. Then I have to lay some plastic. That's an hour. And then I have to water the greenhouse or do this or blah, 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 blah. And then what can I possibly have somebody else do? And, if those add up to 10 hours, and there's always something else that pops up, and so it's like, what can I take off and what's prioritized? But it also like keeps me, I wear a watch and I'm like, okay, I better keep boogieing, if I want to, like, this should take me 30 minutes. So like, don't dick around.
Right.
Like, keep your focus and just like do your work and then be done.
Yeah, that's interesting because you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot by overcommitting. Like, oh, it's only going to take a half an hour to do that. But on the other hand, work tends to fill the time that you give it. So by giving yourself that little bit of deadline, you're like, no, I should have had this done in a half an hour.
Totally.
So that makes a lot of sense if you look at it that way.
That's something that like has been really helpful for me. I don't have crew in on Saturday and Sunday. And so Saturday I do a lot of, whatever needs to be done, whether it's like cultivating or some bed prep that didn't get done during the week or just whatever, seeding some stuff. And that list is generally pretty long. Saturdays I always say it can get like a little wild when I'm here by myself, It's just like
stand back.
Yeah, just like all the tractors running, just like all the things happening, and so especially for my Saturdays, I really make that list on Friday night or whatever, and I put in a lot of time, and I'm sort of going not racing the clock, but I'm mindful of what I'm doing. And where I'm going and, all those things.
I try to be mindful of, taking time away from farm tasks and whatnot and spending some time with friends. Cause I know like they're talking about moving away and it's like, they're not going to be here forever. So I got to make time to enjoy some time with them and whatnot. So I've been trying to learn that balance cause it's hard trying to do farm stuff and whatnot. And recently I've been looking at the list and think, well, what needs to be done today and what's going to be okay if it waits till tomorrow?
Totally.
And then it's like, okay, yeah, that can wait another day. Like, of course, yeah, I've got 15 things that I really want to do, but only 2 of those really need to get done right now.
Totally.
And that helped this last weekend.
Yeah. And like sometimes, and I got this from Stephen Covey. He's an author. I mean, just like he's just like a god, right? 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. It's just like, I've read that book so many times.
Yeah.
It's just like on my counter next to my coffee mug in the morning. And, one of the things how he has like the 4 quadrants and like, is it urgent and important? Is it important and not urgent? Is it, and it's like how, like, what is this? Like, what do I need to do? Like, the greenhouse needs to be watered. That is urgent and it's important.
Right.
And like the plastic needs to be laid. it's not urgent, but it's important. And so you can sort of prioritize your tasks,
And if it falls off the list, then I guess it wasn't that important right now.
Exactly. Yeah. No, totally. And like if it's not on the list, then maybe you probably shouldn't do it,
Yeah, I there are 2 books that I think kicked off my adult life as a teen when I was weeding strawberries or picking strawberries, either way. As a teen, I listened to his audiobooks, and it was The 4-Hour Workweek and The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It just opened my world and totally shifted the way I think about work. And so to listen to those as a late teen, amazing.
I listened to the 4-Hour Workweek also, and that was a total game changer. And one of my favorite quotes from that, which you might know, Andy, is which applies to every single area in life, is your quality of life is dictated by the difficult conversations you're willing to have.
Yes.
And it's so true. It's like, and that's like one of our mottos on the farm is like, do the hard thing.
Yeah.
Like when we're like looking at like the game plan for the day and we're like, okay, let's do the hard thing. Do the hard thing, because
and it never hurts to ask. That gets you far as well.
Totally.
Along the lines, who or what has been an inspiration or mentor or influence for you?
In the farming community?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, mentor, influence, just all the things. Gosh, I guess like first, like my parents, my mom was a single mom and like worked super hard, just, working during the day and going to school at night, and just seeing how much she worked to support my sister and I, was always apparent. And my dad, who just also worked super hard. He did golf course greens maintenance, which is like agriculture, but it is, like he like knows all the things, like the hours are still super long and like grass like is important to like play golf on. And so he like gets like all the things, and he'll like if it's like super humid and hot in like the middle of the summer, he's like, how's the disease pressure, Lisa Grace? You got those fans on, and like, did you check on this crop? And like, yes, Dad, I'm on it, or he'll text me, this is disease weather, Lisa Grace, go whatever. So they're super inspiring. My horse trainer growing up, Jerry, was just like an insanely hard worker and so thorough and so specific, and pushed me really hard, both working and in my riding capabilities. And I'm grateful for him for establishing a super solid work ethic in me. And then in the farming community, there's just so many. I'm really close with Andy at Clearbrook Farm, and we were just talking earlier today, and just all the things, and his operation is so inspirational. And gosh, there's like such a long list, there's so many. I was telling you earlier, like Mark and Chris's operation, and there's just Andy Jones and just everybody, and Becky Madden. There's so many people. Jack.
What do you think has built that community of farmers? Or the camaraderie that you're speaking of?
I think there's like such a willingness of like sharing knowledge and being so open, and like it feels like everybody's farm seemingly is like an open invitation to visit or call or email, and all the work that the VVBGA does with the listserv and meetings, and it just seems like everybody wants everybody else to succeed, and that's like really wonderful. There's just a great wealth of knowledge around, and people are so willing and happy to talk to you about it.
It's a unique thing to have an industry that collaborates like that.
And geographically, we're all so close too.
Relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking. Like, there's a lot of farms in Vermont, and it's like, it's like 3 and 4 hours is a far away, but it's not like, you're in, one of the big Midwestern states where it's like 6 hours, or,
Right.
everybody's like kind of down. A lot of people are just down the road from each other. And then, the farmers market community, there's so many growers that do local farmers markets. And, I think that since so many of us sell locally, it just sort of, everybody kind of meets each other too,
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
It's time for our special segment. What's in your pocket?
Right now?
Or just, on the daily. What do you carry around? What are your go-to tools?
Oh, right now, well, just like a basic Swiss Army knife is like you can't beat it. Swiss Army knife, cell phone, and as of right now, it's springtime, and my lips are like sandpaper and split, and so I have some Burt's Bees, usually. And usually I have a thermos of coffee or a seltzer pretty nearby. Yeah. Oh, and a game plan. I make game plans for the crew every day, like type it out, and everything, and everybody gets a copy to put in their pocket. And so usually a game plan.
Okay. Let's dive a little bit on that. How do you collate your game plan for your crew from your long list? Do you share the big long list and kind of star the items that you really want to get done, or do you just give them the areas of focus?
Yeah, everything's pretty well planned out for the day. I send out a weekly email on Sunday nights that has it's an Excel spreadsheet that has Monday through Sunday. It has the crew schedule, and then it has tasks broken down into, which varies during the time of the year. This year it's like greenhouse task, field work, wash pack, transplanting, seeding, potting, and all of the tasks are then categorized underneath that. And then from that, I then take those tasks, which are categorized, and put them on the day of which they'll be done. And then from there, I make up daily game plans, which will have, the team is broken down into wash, pack, and field crew mostly. And there's crossover between both of those teams. And so then it's just a list of tasks, and generally I'm pretty specific about who's doing what, but sometimes I let them decide, but mostly I'm just like, you're doing this and we'll do that. And yeah.
That's unique. I haven't ever heard on a podcast someone talk about their work plan.
Yeah, I have it pretty planned out. I'll have to forward you one of my emails.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you can see how
Or a template. I could include that on the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
an example.
It's super helpful for me to think about it. It's like a lot of work to get all of that sort of preconceived and planned out. And sometimes it changes, and then for Rob, I make it's called the tillage chart, which has all the blocks, and then it's like, disc, plow, perfect, flail mow, or cover crop this or cover crop that, and then what field needs what. So I just make like an X next to like disc this and then whatever. And so then he has like all of the work that needs to be done for the week on a spreadsheet. And then I put notes on it. And then we also take a weekly field walk on Thursday afternoons and talk about, what sort of needs to be done in the fields for the following week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time when you felt really successful farming.
Gosh, the first thing that came to mind was just the farm move. And I don't even know if that's really farming, but like that was like, like I had mentioned earlier, it was March of 2016 where I was like, okay, I'm going to, move the farm this year and keep farming at the same time. And so coming up with a plan for that, with moving all the greenhouses and maintaining markets and building walk-in cooler storage up here and, just moving everything and getting fields prepped and then cover cropped. That was a lot. And I really, it went really well. And that just felt so huge. It felt so good to not feel like I was didn't know year to year if I was going to be there or not, and it really sort of made me a little stagnant, particularly in my infrastructure. It's like I have a very nice wash pack area now, and but our systems and what we were doing in Pownell was just it was so brutal. I mean, I just had so many days in the pack shed, and other people did too, of you're just wearing crampons because everything is, it's an ice rink because we were root washing earlier, and everything's frozen, and the cooler froze over with all the shit in it because because our cooler sucks. Just all the things. It's just it was just hard, and yeah, it felt just really great to find a place where I can actually be, and that it all kind of worked out, because it was a big financial jump for me too. It's taking out the mortgage and the expense of moving and all the things, and it was sort of felt like a big leap of faith, and it worked out. That felt pretty successful.
If you could tell 22-year-old Lisa either something to focus on or some advice, what would you say?
Oh, geez. 22-year-old Lisa. Oh, gosh. Well, maybe I'd let her know that'll get a little easier, because there were some really hard, long days in the beginning that just seemed really insane. And gosh, that's a hard question, Andy. I also want to say that to not take everything so seriously, and there's joy in everything if you can kind of find it, and see it from a different way.
What does sustainable farming mean to you, and what are you doing to achieve it?
Well, there's the triangle of social, environmental, and economic sustainability. And, for us, sometimes I look around and just think about how unsustainable we are. I'm wow, look at all that plastic I just laid, and, look at all that chicken shit fertilizer and all this diesel fuel and all the things. And really, it's we try to and it sounds, I don't know if this is going to sound bad, I try not to do any harm while I'm farming, and I try to create biodiversity as much as I can within our cropping systems, and, and maintaining good soil health, and being smart about production and numbers, so that, there's money left over in the bank account at the end of the year, and we can give people raises, and, but at the same time, keeping the food somewhat affordable, so, people have access to it, and just all the things. It's a lot to manage, and they're all intertwined. It was like I was telling you earlier, last spring when I sold my draft horse team, that was always my dream. I was I'm gonna do eventually, that was my thing. It's eventually I just want to work towards being 2 acres and with my draft team and whatever, because that seems pretty sustainable on the front of there, but really that wasn't going to work out. And so it's hard. I guess sometimes I get down on the lack of sustainability I actually have, if I can be super real about it. And we just find that crops like to grow on plastic, and that we do as much low till, no till as we can, but we're still doing a lot of moldboard plowing and disking and all the things. And, I guess it's just trying. you know, and that's all we can do really is thinking about how can we do this differently. And
but you also mentioned earlier how you're focused on your soil health.
Oh yeah.
And your fertility and your pest management, and you're using plastic, but you're keeping an eye on your farm, all your land, with a very close eye about how it's performing and its health.
Yeah, we love insect netting on the greenhouses. You know, we release a lot of beneficial insects, and sometimes we spray and just all the things. You know, we try to just, you know, we sort of do what we have to do on all fronts. And yeah, it's we can always do better, and we know that, you know, in all realms. It's like you can always make more money. You can always, you know, get work on your food accessibility, and you can always work on your management to, you know, manage your insect and mammalian population and just all the things, you know. I have a deer fence now, so I love deer. You know, they're gorgeous.
Outside the fence.
Outside the fence. Yeah.
Have they ever gotten into your fence?
Oh yes, I was just. Of course, it's usually because like It's usually on a Saturday after like a wild Saturday, and I forget to close the gate. You know, it's usually my fault. Usually, mostly all the things are my fault. You know. But yeah, they've gotten in a couple times, and usually most of the time we have to shoot them. Sometimes the game wardens will make me try to chase them out, which is the most frustrating thing in the world. So, but usually we get a tag.
Yeah, nice. Your horses, you've always been a horse girl, so to speak. How did you balance utilizing them and like you said, the peace and quiet, the only thing you hear is the clack of the feet and the chains and stuff, versus firing up the tractor and just like getting stuff done? Like you seem to have balanced both of those for quite a long time. So what made you decide to kind of use one tool over the other?
A lot of it came down to sort of time and expense, you know, where, you know, I'm with the crew most of the day, unless I'm like bopping off on a tractor or something. And so I was usually working them at the end of the day, either doing some tillage work or spreading compost or perfecting or doing something like that. And I guess there was a point where, you know, it just felt like I got busier somehow. And I wasn't making the time as much. And also too, one of the horses, he had a hind leg issue. And so they weren't old, but they were 14 and 15, which is like plenty of good working years left, but they're not 5 or 8, you know. And so that became a bit of an issue. He had a bit of a hind leg issue, super able to work, but really had to watch it with certain implements. And yeah, I really miss it. I really miss working with them. It was just brought me so much joy. Tractors are great. I love the efficiency. I love what they can do. I love what I can get done. I love bucket loaders. But there was just something that really filled me up when I was working with the team, and Red and Malcolm were their names, and they were so great and they were so good, and it was just this partnership, you know. And there's also this thing about, you know, working with animals like that and with a draft team where it's like, you know, like you can work horses however you want to, you know, but like it's like, okay, they're done, you know, like they're done working, and so you're done. Right? It's like I can only do so much work with them because
they get tired too.
They can only do so much, you know. And so there's this element of just humanity and like just being like that's all there is, you know. And that's fine. Whereas you're on a tractor and you're just cruising.
There's no stopping them.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to go fill up the tank.
Right.
So
But versus the horse is going to get tired at the end of the day and need food, and it's part of this cyclical nature of the day and energy levels. And
yeah. And, you know, you got to take
the
care of
Kubota doesn't do that.
Yeah, I got to take care of the, you know, harness them and, you know, unharness and, you know, bed them down and just do all the things. And, you know, there's this whole other element to actually the care, you know.
I bet the horse has really crafted your character as well. Like you said, you don't really get angry. I bet working with them has kept your emotions in check, because it's a relationship with the working team.
Totally. Yeah. And even with like riding horses and everything else, it's just like, or, you know, I mean, parents deal with that all the time, you know, it's just like being a parent. Like, I don't have children, but I can imagine. And, yeah, it just, I mean, they were so good anyways. It was hard to ever like get upset at them or anything like that. Yeah, they were super. They were super special guys. Yeah, I miss them.
What's a time when you felt really challenged farming?
Every day.
Yeah.
No.
You've mentioned several low points.
Yeah. Oh, you know, really challenged farming. I mean, most recently. I mean, often we remember events that happened most recently. Really challenged farming. I think that, you know, because I mentioned, you know, I had a farming partner for the first 4 years, and then we split and farmed and lived and worked together for a season. That was challenging. And that was a really big shift for me to be doing all of the business stuff. That was like just like massive anxiety attack every day for like 10 months. But I got through that, and that was great. And challenges, great and small, just prevent themselves on a daily basis, just circumstances. Last year's rain was challenging. We're not on river bottom, but we certainly dealt with saturated soils, and that coincided with seemingly a number of different equipment breakdowns. That was challenging. Gosh, you know, there's just little things all the time, and I guess, yeah, I just try to meet things pretty with immediacy as they come up, you know, because that always feels good. I guess with any challenge, I just try to take care of it. And so maybe I'm most challenged when I cannot take care of it right then, which is probably a lot of the time.
When it builds up.
Yeah. But gosh, nothing really stands out. The business division was quite difficult.
I bet.
But weathered that. And
you still farmed together for a year after you decided to split?
Yeah, we were living together and farming together, and we were, you know, what's a really awesome thing through the state is the environmental mediation services that are offered through the state for ag. And so we had free legal and mediation services to help divide assets, and because we had accumulated assets for sure, and like all the things and equity, and so yeah, we did that, and that was good. And yeah, but you know, there's just always challenges, but I guess the business division stands out in my mind. I'm sure there'll be more. We had onion maggots last year. That was a challenge. But we weathered that.
Yeah. See, my next question is, it doesn't feel like anything to me, because in our veg growing VVBGA community, there are so many badass women farmers. But if you step back and think about it, farming as an industry is such a narrow niche. I mean, only like 1% of the population farms now. And in your situation, if you think about it, not only are you farming, you're a woman, you're single, doing it yourself in Vermont. Like there's a lot of people like you in our community, so it doesn't stand out to me. But if you think about it, like, no, that's huge. And I imagine that your circumstances is also a challenge as well.
I guess.
No, because it's just been the way it has been.
It's just been the way
That's
it
awesome.
has been. Yeah. I guess that's like always what I've like really, like I've never like, and I guess it's the veg community and where we are, like there's always just like such a huge element of like I never felt like people treated me like, oh, like you do not know as much. It was like mostly me just being like, oh, Lisa, you do not know as much. It's mostly like down self-talk as opposed to like other people being like, oh man, you have no idea what you're doing, you know? But they might have been saying that for sure.
Just not to you.
Yeah, just having that. I don't know. It hasn't like it's always been like really great. Everybody's always just been so willing to share knowledge and helpful, and you know, I've always have felt like treated like a total equal, which is super awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've heard of some horror stories of other women farmers. There's like just last week, she said, you know, the delivery driver came over and put his hand on my bucket thing as she was taking off with her pallet forks. It's like, what are you doing touching my tractor? Like, again, she is the one who runs the farm.
Yeah.
Or, you know, people who routinely ask, you know, can I talk to the farmer, or where's your husband? And she says, no, it's me. I'm doing it.
Yeah. I know. I've definitely gotten my share of that for sure.
I can't imagine how infuriating that must be.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, you know, maybe it has to do with like the not getting angry thing.
Maybe.
I'm like, they just not know. I guess I always say, look, I can do things.
Yeah.
I can do stuff, you know.
They don't know how awesome you are.
Oh, thanks, Andy. It's nice.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't ask or bring up?
No, I don't think so. I think that we had like a really great conversation, and I'm just like super thrilled and honored that you asked me to do this. It's super fun.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were excited. I always love it when a farmer's excited to chat.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
And if people would like to follow up or learn more about your farm, how can they do that?
Yeah, I love talking to people, and farmers@mightyfoodfarm.com is my email. We're on Instagram, Mighty Food Farm. Yeah, email, Instagram. You can call me 781-307-6801. Yes, that is a Boston number. Yeah, just whatever. Call, text, email. I love letters.
There we go.
I write a lot of letters to people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's been awesome chatting and getting to know you, your farm, your history. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Andy. This was just super fabulous.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was the Farmer's Share. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Lisa as we got to know a little bit more about her and her farm. The Farmer's Share is supported by a grant offered by the USDA Specialty Crop Block Program from the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food, and Markets. This funding helps to cover some of my time and travel in order to produce these podcasts for the next 2.5 years. The USDA Agricultural Marketing Service supports projects that address the needs of U.S. specialty crop growers and strengthens local and regional food systems. I have no doubt that this podcast will meet those needs and help educate growers to support the industry. This show also is supported by the Ag Engineering Program of the University of Vermont Extension. If you enjoy this show and want to help support its programming, you can make a one-time or reoccurring donation on our website by visiting thefarmershare.com/support. We also receive funding from the Vermont Vegetable and Berry Growers Association. The VVBGA is a nonprofit organization funded in 1976 to promote the economic, environmental, and social sustainability of vegetable and berry farming in Vermont. Their membership includes over 400 farms across Vermont and beyond, as well as about 50 businesses and organizations that provide products and services of all types to their members. Benefits to members include access to the VVBGA listserv, to buy, sell plants and equipment, share farming information, and tap the vast experience of our growers. Access the Community Accreditation for Produce Safety, also known as CAPS. This program is designed for growers, by growers, to help you easily meet market and regulatory food safety expectations. You can access the VVBGA's Soil Health Platform, where you can organize all the soil tests and create and store your soil amendment plans and records. Access to webinars for growers in the VVBGA annual meeting. An email subscription to the Vermont Vegetable and Berry newsletter. Camaraderie, enhanced communication, and fellowship among commercial growers. Memberships are on a per farm, per calendar year basis, and annual dues this year are $80. These funds pay for the organization's operating costs and support educational programs and research projects. These funds also support projects that address grower needs around ag engineering, high tunnel production, pest management, pollinators, produce safety, and soil health. Become a member today to be a part of and further support the veg and berry industry. You can visit thefarmershare.com to listen to previous interviews or see photos, videos, or links discussed from the conversation. If you don't want to miss the next episode, enter your email address on our website and you'll get a note in your inbox when the next one comes out. The Farmer's Share has a YouTube channel with videos from several of the farm visits. We're also on Instagram, and that's where you can be reminded about the latest episode or see photos from the visit. Lastly, if you're enjoying the show, I'd love it if you could write a review. In Apple Podcasts, just click on the show, scroll down to the bottom, and there you can leave 5 stars and a comment to help encourage new listeners to tune in. I'd also encourage you to share this episode with other grower friends or crew who you think would be inspiring for them. Thanks for listening.